Welcome to Bridging the Gap, If These Walls Could Talk. All right, welcome back, everybody. We've got a great show on hand today. I'm going to let Juliane introduce her business because I'm going to botch the name, but we've got Juliane Mazzarella from Swickley here today with us, and Zita from Lux 10, my co-host.
Good morning.
Everybody.
My name is Juliane Mazzarella, and I'm the owner of Zuhause Interiors, located in Swickley, Pennsylvania.
So we've gone back and forth, and I'm not going to ever get it right, no matter how much I try to. So I appreciate you giving us the kickoff there in the introduction. So,
of course.
So tell me a little bit about the name. And so I think historically you had a name change, you said, about 8 years ago. So tell us, one, what your business is. Let's start there. And then two, what was the name before? And then how did you change it, or why did you change it?
So we were relocated to the Pittsburgh area in 2016, and that's when I started my business. It was originally called Avenue Interiors.
Okay.
The first home we bought here in Swickley, as one does, you expect it to be your forever house. I was in love with it. I was in love with the town, and so I based my business off of that, and I lived on an avenue.
Okay.
And so I called my business Avenue Interiors. I don't live on an avenue anymore.
Gotcha.
We moved again. We bought a house that's actually very near and dear to my heart that we're restoring. It's a 170-year-old property.
170?
170-year-old property.
Holy cow.
It is a restoration, not a renovation, so
Okay.
add a comma and some zeros
Yeah.
and a few years, but it's a labor of love. So with that, there was kind of a need. And then two, I felt that it was too generic. And really, if you're trying to establish yourself as a designer, you want to stand out. And I wanted to make something that felt a little more personal to me. And so with the name Zuhause, I'm actually only half American. My father's Austrian, and I did live overseas for a portion of my childhood, so I am bilingual. And that I've always loved it. The Zuhause translates to at home, literally. And that's really what it is it's a feeling of being at home, which is kind of the foundation of my business and how I want to work with my clients and help them kind of bring that feeling in.
Yeah.
So it's been about a year now since we did the rename.
Okay. So Zita, this is a curiosity for me. So, that feeling of at home, you're doing, walkthroughs with people as you're going through homes and showing them different properties. Like, are there ones that you walk into that it just feels at home, like that comfort level? I mean, and I don't know what it is from a character standpoint, or like the paint, or, the staging maybe. What do you see there? Are there ones that stand out really for you?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I'm kind of a sucker for old charmers. I love that. I mean, I lived in Mount Lebanon for quite some time, so like that style of home is really appealing to me. I love, like, it just feels like you just want to like cuddle on the couch and relax, watch a movie and have popcorn with the kids, right? It just has that feeling. And I was just in a home this past week where I'm driving through the neighborhood and literally I stopped the car and I took a video of the exterior of the house. And I said, when you see a house for the first time that just makes you stop in your tracks and you say, I think I'm in love, would you consider selling? Like, would you knock on their door and say, would you sell? That to me, I mean, what that means to me means something different to everyone, right? So, because you get people that want modern, or they want the wallpaper, and some people want that charmer and other people want, that transitional, right? There's all different styles. So at home feels different for everyone. Although that style to me really pulls me in, that's not how my home looks, right? Like, because whenever you build, if you build from scratch, you want new, but you want character. And it's kind of weaving that balance in, which I think is super exciting. But for what you do, I mean, to be able to, bring people full circle, right?
Yeah.
Because, you say you deal with clients of all different price points, and someone that comes in and say, I have a house that maybe I've lived in for 15 years and they want to make it feel different, right? They have a change in how they feel at home. So that's why it's always nice to have someone like yourself that can really bring that to life.
Well, and it's a big concern for clients when they do start to talk about, I mean, there's a lot of levels to interior design. There's furnishings and your decor, the pretty fun stuff. But
Right.
then there is some of those larger decisions like your remodels and renovations. And if you've lived in a home for a long time, it has character just by an innate memory for you. We can't destroy that.
Right.
That needs to be surgical precision. We can't just gut that and give you this whole new experience. I always think about the marks in the doorway. Where we've had our kids' height.
Yeah.
You
I
don't
see
get
it in every
rid of
house.
that.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. When I see it, it like touches my heart because I grew up with that.
Exactly.
And I see people that cut out the wood trim around the door and they
Right?
take it with them.
You don't want to get rid of that. How
Right.
can we
Right.
honor that? But how can we give you a space that works now? Because that's the real struggle, and especially when you live in an older home. I mean, sometimes we're blessed with older homes that have huge rooms
Right.
and tall ceilings. Sometimes we're not.
Yeah.
And so that conversation of, can we open up the kitchen? Can we give that more functional update? We don't use formal dining rooms anymore, or many people don't, not
Right.
with their family life now. So it's all of those considerations. That's what a designer does. It's not just the foofy, like, hey, you've got to use green and you've got to use this shade of green. It's that usefulness. It's that orientation of a home. It's that strategic decision making so that you're not overwhelmed with that process.
So I think we talked about it on one of the previous shows, but we just recently redid our garage, and that's where we have the benchmarks for our kids, and we painted the garage. It was never done before, so we had the flooring resurfaced with epoxy. My wife then says, you have to paint the walls. So I start to paint the walls, and I thought, well, there's no way we can cover this up.
Yeah.
So we've got a section right by the man door going into the house from the garage where we have the measurements and all those different milestones. So I painted around that, and I'm going to trim it in with a piece of wood.
I love it.
So it did stay. We couldn't get rid of that. And we said, I think on the other show, like if we move, that's got to come out and it's got to come with us. And
Sure.
we'll probably measure at that same point and, hang it in the same spot in the garage by the man door. And, we still have the chance to walk up to it. And, I now look up at my son and, it's a little different than some of the lower marks that when we started it. So, and we've been there for 20 some years. So it's a lot of those milestones are there. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I do think it's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about what I do, and why, again, the name change was so personal and so important to me, is that I don't have that.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things I love about this area and why this is now my forever home. And it took a couple of countries, and it took a lot of the United States on the Eastern Seaboard here. I've lived a lot of places, and nothing feels quite the way that this area does.
Okay.
It is truly special.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to be from here now. And I really like to try and do that. I know it's not true.
Yeah.
I know it's going to take another 40 years and a couple generations to really consider myself from here.
Be a Yinzer.
But I
And
but I
where's your
do. I
Steelers
know,
sweatshirt, right?
I
Or
know. I'm learning about
jersey?
sports ball. I'm doing all the things. But I didn't have it. And I think it's one of the reasons why it is such a priority, is it's such a special thing. And why not give ourselves that? When we do it when we're on vacation, we have these beautiful moments and these beautiful surroundings, and it feels so special and it feels so unique.
Right.
And then we go home to our house and we feel meh. Why? Why would we not do that? It's really kind of a leveling up of your whole life and how you do your daily function by allowing it to be orchestrated. Another reference I really like to use for it, and Zita, you might appreciate this with how you work with homeowners during that purchasing process, is I think of a glass of water.
Okay.
You pour the water in, water forms to the vessel that it's in. It takes the shape of its environment. We have a choice. We can make those changes and choose something that works for us rather than something we have to accommodate or adapt to.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it's that combination of finding the right piece. Does it speak to you? And then for those things that maybe don't, how can we make them better?
So walk me through this, and as I think of interior design and just design in general, so there's a couple components that I think of. So I think of like, how do colors make you feel? Because there's ones that are a turnoff, and then there's other ones that make you feel warm and fuzzy. And, so I think that, and then, I go out and, we walk through these home stores, and, my wife's like, I like that sofa, or, this chair, or, we bought these chairs that I would have never bought myself, but she's like, yeah, we're getting those. And so, like, what other components go into the design phase? Because I know that you've got a bunch of different packages that you offer. There's different components to each. So maybe give us an idea, like, what's the holistic view of design, and what all do you guys do for your business?
So one of the things that I believe sets us apart from a lot of other design businesses is that, one, I have extensive formal training. I actually have a degree in this, and I'm fully licensed. So that means that I've passed an examination. So I have a 4-year degree, 3 years of internshiping, and then a 2-day exam that I've passed.
Okay.
So similar to architecture, but on obviously a much smaller scale. I don't deal with load-bearing things and structural things. But there's still a lot to know about suitability of materials, types of materials, electrical, plumbing. So I have a lot of background in all of that. But on the layman's side, on a potential client's side, the nice thing about the way my business works is that if you've never worked with a designer before, you can dip your toe in the water. So my design packages all kind of scale.
Okay.
And they stack together in a very clear design process, because there is a lot of confusion about what it is that I do for a living sometimes. I mean, a lot of people still don't know. You hear it and you see it on TV, but
Right.
it's not the same what it actually is in real life. And so the design process starts with a lot of questions on
Okay.
my part. I do ask a lot of questions. I have like a 4 or 5 page questionnaire.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's involved.
It's very thorough.
Yeah.
It is. It's very thorough, but it's fun. And it's a lot of questions that you don't necessarily think pertain to interior design or how you would want your home to feel, but it helps give me some cues and input to kind of play act and put myself into your day.
Okay.
Put myself into your headspace, because it's not going to look like my house. I like craftsman wallpaper, and I like reds and burgundies and browns
Right.
and golds and yellows and greens, and there's very few colors I don't like. There's people who like neutral. And color, you mentioned color at the beginning of your comment, it's so personal.
Yeah,
There's
very
what's
much.
trending and there's what's popular, and then there's what's personal.
Right.
And hopefully we can find that, thread that needle between those two things.
Okay.
So that you don't get this garish reaction from a friend who comes over and goes, "Dear God, you did what?" Or that it's, we don't want it so personal that it stands out in an awkward, uncomfortable way when you're entertaining, but we also don't want it so trendy that it doesn't feel like yours and that it feels non-personal.
Right.
But yeah, no, the design packages work out really nicely because it's a way to dip your toe in, and it's a way to start with just a concept. Then we start to go, we're setting a mood, we're setting a
Right.
feeling, we're setting a layout, just sheer clearances and just simply making sure that furniture fits.
Okay.
You'd be surprised how easy it is to see a sofa in a showroom, see a dining room table in a showroom, and then, oh no, I can't actually pull all of the chairs out when it gets
Yeah.
delivered. I mitigate.
But I really
right?
like it, and I
know,
want
I
it.
loved it. It was
no
the
one sits on
perfect-
that side.
Right?
That's it,
Oh my
right.
gosh. Yeah. No, like we've all had those situations where you buy something and it's just not the right size.
Right.
So that's what starts in the initial packages. And then it kind of goes all the way through shopping lists, or I do procurement. I
Okay.
actually work like a brick and mortar store. So for the busy families where everybody's working and there isn't really that time to go shop, or young families, if you have the opportunity to use a service for that, much like with your grocery shopping or anything else,
Yeah.
doesn't it sound great to have me come in and over maybe 2 different delivery dates, get everything and have it be done?
Sounds
I
great to
love
me.
that.
I mean, I'm ready to buy. Yeah.
I know. Sign me up. I love
handle
it.
the purchasing, I handle the white glove delivery, I coordinate all of that. My rule of thumb is if it's more than 2 trades, you need to hire a contractor.
Okay.
But if you just need an electrician and a wallpaper hanger, sure. I will get you that information and kind of help you work with them.
Okay.
But I do stay separate from the trades.
Okay.
Simply because I need to be your advocate as the homeowner. You're my ultimate client. And so while I've built very strong relationships with contractors, I have no skin in that game. And it's truly an agreement that needs to be between you and them.
Right. Okay. So at that point, do you have alternatives? So let's say I need somebody to do, like a wall move or something like that. And do you have just one contractor that you suggest and then let them pick others? Or are there a couple different alternatives at that point?
Well, if you've got a contractor that you love and you have a good working relationship with, that's key.
Okay.
And I will meet them and
Gotcha.
work with them
Okay.
and coordinate with them.
So it wouldn't
and
necessarily
build that
be
relationship.
they have to use
Absolutely
somebody
not.
that you're suggesting. They could use
No.
whomever they like. Okay.
Yeah, and that's important. That's important because the homeowner and the client really needs to have that comfort level with who they're using. But I
Sure.
do have a really good referral system. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I think so, maybe. Little Lux 10 in there.
Yeah, and it's
So.
been incredible because I've met, I think Matt was on the show a while back, so I've used Matt.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
there's some other people, he's top of mind, but there's a lot of tradespeople that I've actually used on the platform now that I'm building those relationships with. And that is a key component and just such a huge resource to have the people coming into your home doing that work that you have that confidence that they're
Right.
know.
That's so important, right? To know that you have that relationship with someone. It's not just, oh, here, I have a guy, right?
Right.
It's someone you've personally met and that you've worked with and you're building a relationship with that you feel really confident that that person's going to complement your client, the project that you're working on, and your clients are going to feel really good about them coming in. So one question I was thinking through as you were going through your description is just, how do you keep client, basically you get a client that says, hey, I want to do this. And you're thinking, oh no, right? Like that's maybe not a good idea. Trying to keep them in line so that they're making a good investment in their home. Because from a real estate standpoint, I'm always looking at, the investment, making sure that I'm protecting my clients to say, this is a really good investment because of X, Y, and Z. You can change the kitchen, you can change the bathroom and the flooring, but if you got really good bones, the floor plan really works, the yard's amazing, the location's great, we can fix everything else, right? Like you can make everything else pretty, right? And you can make it feel like home. So that's where you come in. But how do you keep that in check with
Absolutely.
them? I'm sure you get people that say, I want to wallpaper all of this, or I want these crazy colors, or whatever. How do you manage that to kind of make sure that they're making a good investment that's going to not come back later to bite them if they decide to sell? When Zita comes in to sell their house,
We
right?
have that conversation very early on. It is one of the first things I talk about, even before a contract is signed. When I go out on an initial consultation, that's one of the questions I always ask. How long are you planning on living here? And there's the aspirational answer, and then there's the realistic answer. And I ask those questions as well, like, have you moved for work before? Does one of you have to travel a lot for work? Is a relocation, I've been at my job for 15 years or I've been at my job for 3 and I got transferred here a couple of years ago. So most people know what their next 5 to 10 years looks like. And if there's any ambiguity in that answer of, like empty nester saying, we're staying here until we're at least 70. We know we've got another 15, 20 years in this house. We're good. That's a different conversation than that couple in their late 30s who were upwardly mobile and getting promotions and maybe transferring jobs that a relocation or another upgrade might be in their future in the level of home that they live in. So I do try to put that into consideration. And I think with any changes, paint is easy. And then we get to have the hard conversation as the agent, I'm sure, when you come in and they have some very personalized, very unique colors that
Right.
speak to them directly. And then have that dialogue of maybe we do need to repaint before we put this on the market.
Sure.
But I try to stick with the architecture of the home, and I try to just play devil's advocate of, keep in mind, if you think you're going to be selling in 5 years, is this where we're putting that investment? Is this the improvement that makes the most sense? So when people start to talk, built-ins are so popular, they're beautiful, they add value to a home. However, you can't take them with you.
Right.
Sadly, they stay with the house.
Sure.
Window treatments are a weird one. They kind of do and they kind of don't. It really depends on the clause. I've even seen people take a beautiful chandelier that they just bought and put it in their contract with their agent that they're taking it with them, or they
wow.
swap
Okay.
it out beforehand.
Yeah, that happens.
Really?
It does
Does
happen.
it? Okay.
Yeah, I took a dishwasher with me once.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding.
I had a brand new under cabinet panel ready dishwasher that I was not giving up.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I
So-
haven't seen someone take their dishwasher. I've seen a lot of other things. I've seen definitely lighting fixtures where people, I've gone to the house and I'm like, where are the lights? I'm like, you can't just take those. You have to disclose that you're
Yeah.
taking them or that you're going to swap them out. And I always tell people, if you're going to swap them out, do it before people see it.
Right.
Because as soon as they see it, they're going to want it.
Right.
Because if you really value it that much, in your pricing your home accordingly with it, that's part of the reason why they're paying the price for the house.
Right.
Because they're saying, I'm walking in here and there's restoration hardware lighting everywhere. Well, they know that that's really
value.
expensive, right? So they'll pay more for your house. But if you start plucking all those beautiful chandeliers out, then all of a sudden it changes the perspective when you hang up the Home Depot one, right?
Absolutely.
So
And they do play a value. I agree with you 100%. They play a big value in a home. You know, I usually try to equate it to dressing. You can get away with like an inexpensive pair of jeans,
Right.
but you got to be in the right shoes. You know,
Right.
And
You need something to elevate it, right? You
There's
gotta
a
pick your battles.
Yeah, there's a big part of establishing that value. So that's the other conversation that I have is I talk about budget very early on. Just because if depending on the value of your home, I don't want you to be underwater in that. And I want it to make sense with the rest of the house.
Right.
We can't do a like $600 a roll bespoke wallpaper in a $500,000 house because there's a 75% chance that's going to get torn out.
Okay.
And that's been lost unless you truly love it.
Right.
You know, I'm also going to let you do ultimately what brings you joy and what makes you happy, but there's always going to be that conversation. And one of the things that I feel I do very well just individually is I'm very good at taking a little over here to put it over here to give you a little bit of what you really wanted
Right.
over here. Let's find the smart compromise over here.
Sure.
So that larger picture doesn't get blown out of proportion.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things. So like the different home shows on HG that you watch and, you know, it's like there's always this one, you know, surprise that is $10,000 and now we don't get the huge fireplace surround or, you know, it's like, okay, come on. I get the drama for television, but I know that happens in the real world. Like it's crazy to think, but if you can manipulate and move, I mean, that's flexible in my mind. That probably makes it easier to accommodate, you know, maybe it's a version of, maybe it's just a little bit less expensive version, right? So,
Absolutely. And it happens early on in the construction process. Zita, you've built homes before, correct?
Yes.
So when homeowners come in and they start to get to pick their lighting, that's part of the architecture of the house. And it's one of the first things that really has a lot of personality to it.
Yes,
I mean,
agreed.
sure, floors are floors. Trim is trim. You know, like in the grand scheme of things, it's not what we see, but lighting's the jewelry. And they'll go crazy.
Right.
But then when it comes time, like you've either gone way over budget or every single room has a showstopper and it gets
I'm
a
no
little
help in that
chaotic.
compartment because I'm always like, oh my gosh, I love
I
this
know,
lighting.
right?
Like I'm a sucker for really good lighting because it changes the
Everything.
space. I mean, you can literally have the most fabulous kitchen and then people like pop in or like don't have any lights. They just have recess and you're like, where's the eye candy? Like you just kind of, I want that. Like
Yeah.
I love that. Or the other way and you're like the kitchen, you know, you see like these amazing lights and you're like, these cabinets are falling apart,
Right.
right? So the balance is so important and that's where, you know, you can really help people. Like you have a balance of where you spend the money to make sure that you're getting the return on the investment and the joy out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So-
Absolutely.
Julie, so you do like full circle. So you're saying like you help with furniture, you'll help with lighting, you'll help with the full layout design, like additions,
All of it.
oh my gosh, that's
I know.
amazing.
I get
so you like
really
move in with
tired.
people almost to really,
It is a process. I mean, the average design project, let's say we're doing a first floor update, we're redoing your kitchen, and then that sort of drifted into, well, we should probably update the powder room.
And the family room.
Right, and now we're
Yeah.
going to do furniture for the family room. You
Yeah.
know, we've already got a dining room table, but maybe we could put some wallpaper in there. Let's do some new lighting. Let's do some window treatments.
Yep.
So a lot of those first floor additions I do quite a bit of because it just tends to drift. And it always turns into the conversation of, well, since the contractor's here and all, you know, and since Julian's already working with us, so that definitely turns into a bigger scope of work. But that process, you're probably looking at anywhere from 8 to 10 weeks of design work from when I get started to when we're ready to order. And then with your lead time on your cabinetry is traditionally your longest lead time. That's when we start to coordinate with a contractor what our start date is. So the nice thing, again, with working with a professional like myself is that I've timed all of that. I have a calendar, a really large calendar that my project manager works on, where we know if we're trying to start in June, we've got to order those cabinets at the end of March. So that they're here 2-3 weeks after construction is started, once the demo's all done, the new drywall's been put in, the floor's been laid, and now we're ready for that cabinet delivery. So that becomes like a big linchpin in the schedule. And I work with the homeowner and the contractor to coordinate all of that. So there's no more the contractor's asking you to pick out your sink. We couldn't decide. We've been to 2 showrooms. We don't know what we liked. It's already been picked. Chances are it's already scheduled to be delivered when the template for your countertops is happening, because the countertop company needs to have the sink for the template.
Well, it sounds like every homeowner needs you in their house
I don't know
to
how
coordinate.
anybody does it on their own. And I mean, I'm a part marriage therapist, a part accountant. You know?
That's it. It's so true.
And I try to make the process comfortable for my clients as possible. You know, again, with those resources, I have small businesses here in the area that I work with that do family-style catering
Oh my gosh.
on a meal-to-meal basis. So I present my clients often whenever I can with a gift card so that they know they've got a few meals covered during construction.
Yeah.
Even when they're eating out of a microwave, right? When they're like, I'm
Yeah.
living in the basement with a microwave, or, I mean, in Swickley, there's
only so
amazing
much
plays.
pizza you
Yeah,
can eat.
that's
There's only-
right. That's
So
it.
I try to make the whole process easier, smoother, as mitigate as much of the frustration and stress, and then ultimately give you something that you love. You know, something that you just feel so good about and so proud of. You know, you hear, I finished a kitchen almost 2 years ago now. Not 2 weeks ago, my client, I'm actually choking up a little bit thinking about it. My client literally texted me, I just went shopping for new dishes.
Okay.
And they look so good. I ended up doing a mini photo shoot. Don't laugh at me, but here's some pictures of the mini photo shoot I just did with my own dishes in my own house, because I am still so happy with what we've done.
Oh, that's amazing.
And that was a home with an original kitchen. They raised their girls. They're empty nesters. They were ready for a change, but we didn't want to lose what made the house feel like theirs. And so how could I not just be so happy that that's still the relationship that I have with them as a
That's
client?
magical.
So as we wrap up, shift gears for me on this.
Okay.
And so this is kind of interesting that you kind of called out the photo shoot. So if somebody wants to see your work, is it on Facebook? Is it on Instagram? Like I always say, like for contractors, the landing spot is their website, which directs them then to a social media platform. So do you have a preferred social media platform? And 2, would people be able to look at that and go, oh yeah, this podcast really, so you've painted the picture up until this point, then do they see the work and then it's easy to get in touch with you from the social media platform? Like what's on there? What do you showcase, and which platform do you prefer people look at?
So I use Instagram primarily.
Okay.
I'm on Facebook. I'm on the LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I've got all the things,
Okay.
all the beeps and boops.
Yeah.
And the website is, of course, a fantastic resource.
Yeah.
If you just type in Zuhause Interiors, Zuhause, Interiors, and then I'm in Swickley. You can probably also type in designer near me, and
Yeah,
you should be able
you'll
to
find
find
you.
me. You can find me by my name. But the website is going to have my portfolio. It goes through that design process. I have a really great graphic that just kind of takes you through the steps.
Perfect.
There's an opportunity to schedule a call. I also have a lot of pricing transparency on my website. So
I was
you
really
can
surprised
see
by the different
what
packages.
the
It breaks
packages.
down, yeah, which was great. So super user friendly in my mind. Like, hey, I'm not overwhelmed by all of these choices with no idea what it's going to cost me. I can look at the different package bundles and kind of say, okay, this makes sense. I'm interested.
And it's obtainable. I
Yeah.
do think it's obtainable. I mean, when we start to talk about how much the investment in your home is, that design fee will probably pay for more than half of itself, if not all of itself, just in time savings and in confidence in what you're going to end up with as an end result. And we're all busy. Between the kids, the family, the enjoying life, the fun things we get to do. If this isn't something that brings you joy to do all the things to make it look like that TV show,
Right.
that's what I'm here for. I want you to still have that, even if you can't personally execute it that way, because we all want that. You know, we see it. We want to feel that way in our own home.
And I think too, like, I mean, my mindset is people are so ingrained with instant gratification now that, you know, they see something on Instagram, to your point, and then they want that tomorrow. Well, you just mapped out a timeline that says that's not tomorrow. And if you can't do that timeline on your own, then that's a perfect fit for you. And you can coordinate all of that so that they have still what they want. It's just not immediate.
Yeah.
So I think that's, you know, one challenge people have is they have that expectation like, oh, I'm going to go out and get this, right? They go to Home Depot and buy a can of paint. Well, that's great. It doesn't mean that the entire space is transformed in that period of tomorrow. It takes some time. It takes some energy. It takes some investment to get to that point. And it sounds like you've got the perfect solution to help steer people in that direction.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, I do. And I just, everybody deserves to have a house they feel good about. They really do.
Well, I appreciate you being on the show, Zita. Great show today. Thank you. Very good.
Thank you for being our
looking
guest.
forward to
I
our next
appreciate it. Thank
episode.
you.
So stay tuned, folks. Thanks for your time.